exciting.
Ryan, I'm going to see you both when I get back.
All right. As going to Washington, D.C., kicking some ass, taking some names.
Feel free to picture that however you like.
Well, it was fun to imagine Naz conquering D.C. like a boss. At the end of the day, it's just a series of meetings, so it probably looks a lot more like this.
on the day at like 7.
Yeah.
Daddy, I just leveled up.
Hey, Keith. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I was just trying to figure out how to unmute myself.
Oh.
Hey guys,
Hey.
it's been a while.
Yeah. What's new with you, Moon?
I've been mainly focused with spending time with the kids because of homeschooling. We have 2 kids.
How old are you?
I've been trying to get on, but sometimes they have different ideas.
Yeah. How old are your kids?
They're 10 and 7.
Gotcha.
So I'm in charge of the 10-year-old, and my wife is in charge of the 7-year-old.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've got an 11 and 9-year-old, so I get it.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Yep.
Hey, Keith, a quick question. You know the people who are taking forbearance on the mortgages?
Yeah.
If they go out and apply for a new mortgage for a completely new investment, are the banks asking, have you used forbearance previously?
Correct.
And are they denying those applications, or what are they doing?
Yes, they're denying the applications if they're underwriting to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, and VA's guidelines.
And at what point those restrictions will be lifted? Let's just say if I use it right now,
right?
How long do I have to wait before it can be lifted?
So there's 2 things that you have to do. Step number 1 is you have to do what's called reinstating your mortgage.
Okay.
So you have to get your mortgage current again, whether that's immediate through a lump sum or you get on a 6 or 12-month payment plan.
Okay.
Then once you've reinstated, you have to wait 12 months after reinstatement.
Okay.
That's what the current guidelines say. So if you're in forbearance, it's a complete denial right now. If you are reinstated, you have to be 12 months past your reinstatement.
Okay.
So that was actually a conversation piece that came up with Mark Calabria yesterday on a WebEx that I was on, and he said we're aware of it, and right now it is that's the underwriting guideline.
Okay.
Whether that
I hate
changes,
to tell you guys, but you guys are going to have to repeat yourself here when everybody jumps on.
fair enough. Hey, lady, how are you?
What's up, brother?
Actually,
Not much.
It looks like you're either in the sunshine or you got socked in the face and you got a giant Band-Aid over your face.
Yes, both. I am in the sunshine, and I do have a giant Band-Aid over my face. I just had a cancer spot removed off my face.
Oh, geez. Well,
No, when you say cancer spot, are you saying it was cancer?
Yeah, it was cancer. It was a basal cell carcinoma. So that's the good one to get if you get skin cancer.
Okay.
It's non, what's the word? Gosh, it just totally escaped me. It doesn't metastasize to other parts of your body.
Okay.
So it just rots the piece of skin that it's in. And then if you get the one you don't want is melanoma. Melanoma is no one's friend. It kills you fast.
Okay.
So yeah, I had a biopsy at the end of last year, and then I was scheduled to get it taken off in March, and then that got kicked back until this week. So
well, glad to see you.
yeah, glad to be seen. So yeah, it's fun. I got to freak my kids out this morning when I took my bandage off and walk around the house looking like Frankenstein. So they're like, ew, put a Band-Aid back on.
Right on, right on. Awesome stuff. How's everybody doing? We're going to give everybody a couple minutes to jump on. Hi, Joe.
Hi.
Stuff. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Bill, good to see you. Bill Exeter with us from Exeter 1031. If anybody has any 1031 exchange type of questions, be able to get those answered today. I have a listing coming on this afternoon. Keith, I need to touch base with you on that.
Okay.
That's my possible, I like to call it the homie style. Homie style renovation. Hi, Teresa. How you doing? Can you hear me, Teresa? I don't know if she can or not. Can you hear me, Teresa? Hi.
Yep, it's my internet's not the greatest here.
No worries.
So, yeah.
Good to see you.
Thanks.
Thanks for jumping on with us. Moon, how's it going in your world?
Thank
I
you.
am doing okay. I'm mainly spending a lot of time with my kids, homeschooling.
Yeah, you and me both. I just had to make sure our homeschooling got done today before this call. Otherwise, they get a little crazy, if you know what I'm
Yes.
saying. Got people jumping on here, so we'll wait a few minutes. Anybody, while we're talking about it, we're going to make Keith and you guys repeat what you were talking about on forbearance here in a few minutes, but we'll let some more people jump on. Anybody have any questions or any help they need, something they need while we're waiting for people to jump on? There's Preston. Hey, Preston, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Awesome.
Julie, great to see you.
Good stuff. I can't see you,
Oh,
but your name looks pretty.
why hasn't my video started yet?
Little down there in the corner. So, hey, Preston, just so you know, guys, Preston is going to give us some insight today on, what's going on in the kind of the core Seattle area with his rent collections and stuff. And hey, Preston, I didn't tell you, but we also have our buddy who's trying to jump on, Brian Blessing, and he owns about 126 or 30 doors, something like that, down in South King. Single family, more, and also apartments, probably different asset class than you are managing. So that'll be great if he's able to jump on with us to get the insight from both of you guys on an update on a status of May rental collections. So while we're waiting to make sure that, I want to see if Brian's able to jump on. Also, Keith, why don't you guys talk about Simant, am I saying your name correctly? Can you hear me?
Yes, you're saying it correctly.
Yeah, go ahead and ask what your question was, and we'll kick it off with that while we're waiting for other people to jump on.
Yeah, absolutely. So my question was, the people who are using the forbearance, will they be able to qualify for a new investment property loan for different property in near future?
And the short answer to that is no, not in the near future. What happens when you're on forbearance is that you have to, so you're missing payments. So let's say you miss 3 payments. You have to reinstate your mortgage, which means bring it current. And you can do that via lump sum, which is the typical, yeah.
Hold on for 1 second. Hey guys, rules of engagement here is, Gordon, if you can hear me, turn your mic off. If you're not talking, turn your mic off, or we're going to hear you screaming at your wife or your kid or, taking a swig of your beer or whatever you guys are up to. So everybody keep their mics off unless they're talking. Okay. Your mics, if you don't know where they're at or you don't know where stuff, it's in your bottom left-hand corner of your screen, along with your video, if you want us to see your beautiful face. If you don't feel like it, that's cool too. But okay, Keith, back to it.
Yeah. So the guidelines as it states right now, if you're in forbearance, you're in automatic denial. This is for Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, and VA lending. If you have reinstated your mortgage, so you either lump summed or you went through your payment plan, you have to wait 12 months from reinstatement of your mortgage to qualify for a new conventional FHA or VA loan. So for those folks that were using that outlet, to those 4 underwriters, you would have to wait 1 year after reinstating your mortgage, right? So that's where it is going to cause maybe a systemic issue for folks that were taking forbearance, and then all of a sudden in 6 months they want to get back into it. They won't be able to because they're not 12 months away from reinstating their mortgage. So this is where you guys all want to not just have a lender that is a direct Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, VA deliverer like Loan Depot is, but you also want to start talking to your regional banks because they're balance sheet lenders. They're going to lend to you based off of what their credit criteria is. And some of the regional banks, I haven't heard of any yet, but I'm still talking with my folks. It's a new emerging thing with the amount of forbearance that's going on. The last number that I heard from the Mortgage Bankers Association is that 6.7 of all FHFA loans, so that's the Federal Housing Finance Administration's loans, are in forbearance right now. So that's a large chunk of people. So your regional banks will be balance sheet lenders. They might have a more lenient approach to forbearance given the scope of this situation, but right now, as it stands, unless FHFA changes their underwriting guidelines, you have to wait 12 months after reinstating your loan.
Keith, I've got a question for you. How does it work when the borrower is an LLC, when it's a single purpose entity? Or does it flow through to the guarantor? How's that work?
Hey, Joe, sorry guys. Joe, can you text me the meeting ID so I can send it off to Brian? Got it. Sorry, Preston, go for it.
So if it's in an LLC and the LLC is seeking forbearance, it all depends on how the mortgage is done, because a lot of folks will do a mortgage in their personal name and then float the property over to the LLC after closing. So in that situation, if the personal guarantor and the mortgage was done in the name of the single entity owner, it's going to show up on their personal credit report. It's all how it's going to boil down to the credit report. The other situation where you could have in that case is we pull a property details report for all social security numbers on applications and say, hey, is this person vested on any property throughout the United States? And if it pings on that, then you're going to have to show a verification of mortgage. And if there's forbearance on there, it will definitely jeopardize your qualifications. So, I mean, it's a well-known issue that Mark Calabria yesterday on a video conference with Barry Habib said point blank that, yeah, we know that it's 12 months after reinstatement. And Barry made a very good point that one of the quickest ways to clean up this whole forbearance mess would be allowing people to do a refinance immediately once their forbearance is done, because this isn't a one-off, I broke my leg and I can't be a plumber anymore. This is like a very widespread global pandemic as opposed to an isolated incident where forbearance is typical. So we'll see. But right now, forbearance to mortgage underwriting is a bad thing.
My only comment to that, Keith, is so I fell into the trap of getting forbearance when I didn't need it very early.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I called them to cancel it, it was too late. I've been calling a few of them to cancel it, and now it's been a challenge just to cancel it. And now I'm getting letters that they're extending it for another 6 months without even me asking. It's crazy how easy they make it for you to go into the forbearance program.
You are not alone. That's been one huge criticism from the industry to the FHFA, that, you know, number one, there was no gatekeeper, there was no proof of hardship, there was just forbearance for all. And it was well perpetuated by the news media that, hey, since you're in the United States, you could qualify for forbearance, so you should call your lender and get it. And Moon, you're not alone in that situation, which is why I have a feeling that that mortgage lenders the new underwrite will have to be amended in some way, shape, or form. They're just not giving clarity to that right now. One thing that you could do, Moon, is still make your payment. Just because you're in a forbearance agreement doesn't mean that you can't make your payment.
Yeah, I'm all caught up.
Yeah,
I got caught up, and I asked to be removed from the program, and they said we're working on it. But even after my phone call 3 weeks later, I get a letter saying that, hey, we're going to extend your forbearance program for another 6 months without even asking. So it's crazy how easy they make it to be.
Yeah, it was super easy. And that's, it just wasn't the typical order of operations when it comes to forbearance that any of us were accustomed to. So it's
Hey, Keith.
compounded the issue.
Keith, were some of the lenders, I mean, it sounds like in Moon's case it might have been, but were some of the lenders putting people in forbearance without getting any kind of signature or anything?
For me, that
Yes.
happened.
It did.
So,
Yeah,
so one of the big banks was doing that, as well as there wasn't any signature required in this forbearance situation. Typically, the borrower has to put together a report, and that report's 13 pages long, and submit that to the lender in a forbearance request. In this case, all you guys had to do was call your mortgage servicer and say, I want forbearance. That was it.
I guess my question is, if I never called and asked them, is it possible that one of my rentals went into forbearance and I don't even know?
No, it shouldn't have happened that way. They should have had to get some sort of authorization from you.
Yeah, for me.
Sorry, go ahead.
Quick comment. For me, when I called my lender to ask him a few questions, they basically put me in forbearance, and I thought that was a good thing, and I was really happy about it. So I started getting more educated. Then I called back to get it canceled, and it was too late.
And Moon, are you talking about like your primary residence or some of your commercial properties, or what are you talking about?
Just my rentals. Just my rentals. It's not the commercial. The commercial, given that it wasn't financed from Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, it was just through Harborstone. I did not qualify for forbearance there, but for all my other units, it was very easy to just get into the program, and they make it extremely hard to get out, even if you are caught up.
So, and I'm sorry, I jumped in late, so this is very interesting. So what I'm hearing is then that if you requested forbearance, just, said, hey, I'd like to check this out, and they put you into forbearance. But even if you continue making your payments, you're saying that it's going to show up? Is that what I'm hearing? Or is that right or wrong?
So what you can do in that case, Mariska, is I can get an underwriting exception. What we're trying to do is show that you've had an uninterrupted 12 months worth of mortgage payment history, right? So yeah, it could still show forbearance, that you went through a forbearance on the report, but when we go
verification of mortgage would show that it's been paid. Yeah.
Bingo, exactly. The verification of mortgage would trump the forbearance reported on the credit report, and I can get an underwriting exception for that.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I had just sent an inquiry. I wasn't saying please do it. I just said, I'm concerned. What if some of my tenants pay late? What is the process? And I didn't hear back from them until early this week. You've been granted forbearance. I'm like, okay, I don't want it.
Right.
That's what happened to me.
I think to Moon's point was, I think when the servicer got that phone call, they just automatically pushed the button, and they sent out the disclosures that have to go out within 14 calendar days. And you guys get notified via a letter in the mail that you've been granted forbearance.
No letter in the mail. It was an announcement on my online portal. Gotcha.
Yeah. So
just a message.
Congratulations, because you inquired about it. So that I think is one of the servicer issues that's going to come to the forefront in this whole mess, is that folks like yourself, Mariska, that were just calling to inquire about it. They weren't requesting it. They were just calling to inquire about it, got thrown into a forbearance plan. And that's bad news. There should be something in that portal. You have 21 days from the call request to either acknowledge it and cancel it, or if you don't say anything, you're in it. So you should still be able to cancel that.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. What a mess.
It's a total mess. It's a total mess.
Anybody else have any problems that they want to address or let the group here collectively solve? I like to call this, I'm stealing the word collective genius, but if you're having a problem or you have a question with something, now's the time.
I just want to know why your hair still looks good.
I actually took a shower today, Mariska.
Oh, okay. Because I got a little crazy, and I was like, I can't handle this anymore. And I actually cut my own hair, which was a big mistake. So I'm just going to put it out there. I'm hoping it'll grow by the time that we all come out of hiding.
I hear that. I've had to chop off my daughter's hair. Funny story for another time. You guys, if you listen to our podcast, I could barely contain myself laughing after that happened, and you guys will hear it on the podcast. What happened?
I did hear about that. That was hysterical.
Yeah, crazy stuff. But anybody else with any problems or questions that they want to throw out to the group that we can discuss real quick before we do a check-in on rental collections here for May?
I have a question. This is Lika. Hi.
Hi, Lika. Hi, Lika.
Hi. Hi, guys. Hey, I have a question about West Seattle. How is the West Seattle real estate market doing given the bridge closure? I'm seeing coming on today, and I am just a little bit worried about what's going on there.
Good question. I don't know. I'm not paying attention that close, but I know it is. I know there's chatter out there. Does anybody have any insight?
Aaron Royce, where are you at, Aaron?
Yeah, Aaron.
I'm here.
You
Well,
just
I-
sold in West Seattle.
Yeah, I think, mine sold kind of right as the bridge was closing, like that first week or second week. So I don't know if I really got hit with the brunt of that. I mean, Jared Holland obviously would be the guy to ask about that area.
Yeah,
'cause I
Chris
don't have any
Myers,
current
Lika.
info.
Chris Myers, I think has a project over there now too. You might want to check it out.
Okay. Bye, Dan. Right, thank you.
Anybody else?
I would love a few minutes regarding the city council passing that additional 6 months for evictions. That just for the city of Seattle, right? And for the rest of the state is still June 4th. Is that correct?
Preston, you might be able to answer that.
Yeah, what passed was just for the city of Seattle. So the governor's order goes through early June. So the outside of Seattle won't be impacted. I don't know. My take on it, my sense for Seattle rentals in Seattle, it's a lot of, I don't know, it's a lot of bluster, and it's an emotional topic, but I encourage people to support the lobbyists like Roger Valdez, who are campaigning on landlords' behalf. RHA, WUMFA, they're working on this, but I don't know. I'm trying not to get too much emotionally involved in it, because I don't know. From what I've seen, April, May, the collections data has held up pretty well.
Why don't we jump into that, Preston? So if you guys don't all know Preston Walls, Preston, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes, I have a property management company in Ballard. We manage about 800 units between my own portfolio of investments. Do some syndications and third-party investments, or third-party fee-based management. Our properties are all in Seattle and all kind of within 20-minute drive from Ballard, where my office is. They range across the quality spectrum from kind of A minus mid-rise building less than 10 years old to kind of CC plus assets, but the bulk of them are in the B minus range, 60s product, in good locations, with some degree of renovation done to them.
So Preston, what's the split on your between A, B, and C asset class on the multifamily? Are you 80% B and 10% that you're managing and owning? What's the percentage splits there?
I'd say like 5% A minus and 5% C and C plus, and then probably, I don't know, 50% B plus, or 30% B, and maybe 40 B plus, 30 B, 20 B minus.
We got a wide swath there, and we also have Brian on that we're going to talk to next, Brian Blessing. But tell us, what's the update? Give us some details, some stats. What's going on in your world? We're checking in today. It's, you know, we're here past rental due dates, aren't we? What are we at today? May 7th? Rents are probably late after the 5th.
Let's see if I can share the screen. Can you see that screen?
Yes.
Okay. Let me. So here's our portfolio data. March, April, May. March is the black line. April's orange, and we've got May coming in. But across the portfolio, April was slightly worse than March, but ultimately it ended up essentially unchanged from the March collections. And May, while it started out a little higher, it's fallen back in line with where April was going. These are as of yesterday. So my sense is, you know, the unemployment benefits, they're holding up and allowing people to stay current on their rent. I mean, these numbers are quite a bit lower than I was expecting. If you asked me in March where May collections would be, these are quite a bit higher collections than I would have anticipated. And I would have anticipated that May would have been a fair amount worse than April.
Preston, do you think that's because people, I mean, I don't know, it sounds like you said you have like C-class properties. Do you think that a lot of these people are unemployment and are perhaps making more than they would have otherwise?
Yes, that's my hypothesis in this.
It's mainly B class, Mariska, not C.
Oh, I thought I heard C. I'm sorry.
So this slide is delinquency by building quality. So you know, there's been a very direct correlation between building quality, tenant quality, credit quality, and ability to pay. And you know, some of that is just communication based. People that live in nicer, newer buildings are more resourceful and able to navigate the process to get their unemployment benefits and,
For sure.
and just deal with the hassles of an overwhelmed system. But certainly we've seen, and it's played out each month, that there's a strong correlation between building quality and delinquency. And I mean, my takeaway from this is big incentive to tackle the things that are within your control to improve the quality of your asset. So if you can move it from a B minus to a B, these are the times, these are the situations where it pays off with kind of some intangible benefits in terms of credit quality.
Guys, I want to add one thing. Sorry, before I'm just about to hop off the call here. we are going to have Preston on our Real Estate at Work webinar later this month, and you should tune in because he's going to dive deep into these slides and more about his rentals, and I'm super excited for that.
Good
Thank
stuff.
you, Lika. Yes.
Absolutely.
I've also got a little bit of leasing traffic. Our leasing traffic is down pretty significantly since before all this happened. Just as you'd expect, fewer people want to be out looking for an apartment. As a result, signed leases are down. But the good news in this is the conversion rate is higher. So there's fewer tire kickers. More people are.
They're looking. They're serious.
Yeah, they're serious about finding an apartment. But our net absorption is negative. So that other way of saying that our vacancy rate has increased relative to before COVID.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Brian, do you want to pipe in a little bit here on, we'll say Brian Blessing, and you unmic yourself?
I'm learning this stuff the hard way.
The crush is there. Are you not taking care of it?
Hold on here
Lika
real quick.
talking? Are you able to control that?
No, that's my assistant. Sorry.
Okay.
Anyways, so let's see. So last month,
Why don't you introduce yourself first, brother?
This is Brian Blessing, and I have 127 units, and I'd say they're probably C-class. I have a bunch of mobile homes on their own lands, few apartment buildings, handful of houses. And last month, I was off by $4,000 of collecting my total rent. And with that said, I had 2 vacancies, and I had 2 or 3 people that reported problems. And we self-manage, so my assistant and I just kind of oversee her a little bit. But we educate our people. We tell them where to go for resources. I rent to, I'd say half my renters are Hispanic. So they probably don't qualify for the unemployment. They don't qualify for the $1,200 and the child credit stuff. But most of my renters, the thing about rent to low income people is when they get laid off at Jack in the Box, they can just go to McDonald's and get a job. You know what I mean? And a $1,200 rent's a lot easier to come up with a couple $1,000 rent.
How's May going for you?
May, well, see, some of my rents are due on the 10th and a couple on the 15th. But let's see. I think right now I'm off $19,000 on my total rent collection, and I have no vacancies. We filled the last 2. And so go ahead.
Is your base of tenant, is there some unemployment happening there, or what's going on?
Well, there's a couple of them. So if they're unemployed and they're collecting unemployment, my assistant, she wants to see their last pay stubs when they were working and how much they were making. So when they get back to the workforce, we kind of have an idea, you know what I mean, of how much they'll be making.
Yep.
But I don't know. It's pretty good. So now, when you're screening your tenants, you want to see what type of work they're doing. You know what I mean? To make sure that they'll be employable in the future, right?
Right.
But I don't know. And I've had a lot of my renters for probably 10 plus years. So if I have to work with a few of them, I don't mind. I had a couple. So I just increased rents, okay? And they were supposed to start paying this month. But with that new moratorium they put in there, a couple have paid that I've collected. I'm probably going to give back. So I'm not going to collect my increases until next year. The one lady, I increased her rent $300 because she's been paying $900 for a 4-bedroom for like 8 years. So she had called me and said, hey, with what's going on, it's going to be tough for me to pay the new rent amount. So I told her, don't worry about it. We'll deal with it when this is all over with, okay? One of my other renters, I want to explain the mindset to you, right? She calls up, says, oh, the governor says, we don't have to pay the rent increase. Now, who do I want to help? The one with the mindset where, will you help me, is kind of tough. The other one who's demanding it, you know what I mean? So I will bite my tongue. I will accept it. But when this is all over with, you know who I'm going to screw with, right? You know what I mean? But by either increasing rent or making a move or whatever I got to do, you know? Because I don't want those kind of people. I don't mind giving you $1,000, but I don't want you to come and demand $1,000 from me. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, anyways, no, it's pretty good. I was really scared, you know what I mean? But with the mortgage forbearance stuff, one of my banks, it's a small little bank. I called them just because I like talking to them. The first week of April, they had 50 million worth of deferrals. And that was the first week of April. I didn't talk to them at the end of April to figure out how much, defaults they had. And what I don't understand is the problem didn't even take effect until like March. So people were still able to pay, April's rent. You know what I mean? Because their paycheck lagged. So for all these people who go get forbearances right away before there's any problems, you know what I mean? It's kind of crazy.
So we were just talking before you were able to jump on about the impact of forbearance on your ability to borrow going forward. You might have missed that.
I seen some of it. And so, I don't need it, the forbearance. And like, I didn't even apply for a PPP or any of that other bullshit. I would rather go get a loan on one of my properties, because they'll be 30-year fixed. The interest rate, it's not going to be forgivable, all that other bullshit. But I don't like anything the government has to offer.
Amen, brother. I decided not to apply for those either.
You know what I mean? And I may have got 50 grand or something. But I can.
Elegance, Brian. That's your I love about you. Understated elegance, man. That's what I love.
Well, so the thing is, I have a couple seller finance loans, at least a couple million, okay? And one day, one guy calls me, and he lives in Missouri or somewhere. He says, Brian, you don't have to make your payments for the next couple months, And I said, Jim, you're retired, and I have every, I'm gonna make every payment. You know what I mean? And I appreciate that, and I'll call you if I ever get in a situation. You know what I mean? But then the next day, another private lender, he texts me and says, hey, you don't have to worry about making a payment. I said, no, Roger, don't worry about it. And like today, I went to the bank, I deposited money, and I called him and I said, hey, I made your deposit. You know what I mean? These are retired people that they don't need the income, and I know that, but I'm not going to take advantage of them. You know what I mean?
Well, they're going to be your best friend here coming up in about the next 12 months when you go buying a bunch of other stuff, right?
Well, that's the thing is a lot of these loans are like 5%, and in their 20-year AM instead of a 30-year AM. I kind of do that so they have a higher income. You know what I mean? So I could go get cheaper money somewhere else and pay them off. But to me, it doesn't matter. I'm fine. So I don't worry about that kind of stuff.
Good stuff.
You know what I mean? And but it's neat that they reached out to me. Banks never even called or nothing, But I did send my banker a screenshot of my appfolio showing him, hey, this is how much money I collected in April by the 15th. So I can't believe all these 50 million you had the first week of April called in. But they have a lot of hotels and that type of stuff they have loans on. So, and another thing with the PPP stuff, I don't want to go in for a loan and say I need 20,000 today, but guess what? I end up needed 100,000. So if you go in and get 20,000 and you needed 100, maybe you can't go back again. You know what I mean?
Wait till you need it, you mean?
Yeah. And like, so the forbearance, when you go get a loan, they're going to look at you and they're not going to give you a loan. And I want to do deals in a year or two where I want to borrow money. You know what I mean? So I think about the future. One of my friends, he's got 1,100 units. And he just called to inquire about it, and they put it into it. Well, he had a $4 million refinance. They got screwed up because of it.
That's what we were just talking about. Same thing happened to Moon here, where you just called, or Marishka, they call and they just throw you in there. Be very careful here. Anybody
Yes.
rental questions for Preston or Brian? So the consensus is, what I hear from you guys so far is that things aren't as bad as you were anticipating. Is that right, Preston?
That's where I'm seeing it. You know, May's shaping up in line with April, and April started slightly worse than March, but ultimately ended up right in line with where March collections were.
And how are you feeling about June? You feel like, well, they're getting their unemployment and that's what's keeping it together for these people? And
Yeah, my stance now is as long as the federal unemployment boost, the $600 bonus benefit is intact, the collections numbers are going to stay strong. There seems to be plenty of money out there for residents to make their payments, including rent.
so let me ask you though, both you and Brian, I mean, totally different product types, I think. Preston, when you are releasing your vacancies at this time, rents dropping or where they've been, or what are you doing there?
Yeah, really, really good question. We've been seeing rent stay about the same, so it's roughly in line. I mean, we're actually 1 to 2 percentage points above the previous lease rate, but the challenge in that is our vacancy rate has gone up, so it's taking longer to fill these. Not tremendously longer, but several more days on average, which adds up over time. Ultimately, I think we'll see some declining rental rates, but it has not yet worked its way into the system.
And what about with unemployment? How long are people able to collect it? Does anybody know that? Is it like 26 weeks, or did they extend it, or what's the word there? Anybody know?
39, but I could be mistaken.
The $600 federal bonus is temporary. It goes through the summer unless they extend it, which it's an election year. I would be shocked if it did not get extended through the election. But that's probably my biggest risk. Once the sentiment changes to, hey, we're actually spending a lot of money on all this stimulus stuff, and this Corona thing is going to go on longer than we anticipated. We don't know if we can float it. Once that sentiment changes politically, that's when I'll get more worried about conditions getting more challenging for rent collections.
That'll be November 4th, by the way.
I believe.
Why you say that, Keith? Oh, election? Yeah.
Come on, Julie.
November 4th.
Drinking water over here, Mariska. So
You're thinking we're actually going to have elections in November. That's pretty good thinking.
well, hey, let's hear what Ryan Gibson has to say. Ryan's with us today. Ryan, how's it going in your world over there? Tell us what you're invested in and a little touch on your stuff for a second. We'll go a little full circle here.
Well, we're primarily self-storage. We've got about, 4,100 units or so. And we are got a variety of different types of storage projects, some being under development, and some being just basic stabilized cash flowing storage. And some of our storages we bought and are leasing up. So we bought them empty and we're leasing them up. We kind of, overall, things are going well. Delinquencies are about where they have been. So similar to multifamily, we haven't really had any huge issues with delinquencies. They have slightly increased, but nothing that's sort of out of this world or alarming at this point. We're still in that 4 to 5% delinquency rate at the beginning of the month, which is pretty typical. Occupancy has been at the stabilized properties has been unchanged, and increasing or staying the same. For our lease up property, kind of mixed results. So we have one property that we bought that was completely unstabilized. It was 14% economically occupied. And we've had the most leases that we've had for that property since we took it over in October in the last 45 days. So no slowdowns on that property. We have another property in that same market, Fort Worth, that we bought and is leasing up, and the lease ups have slowed. Still hitting revenue targets, but the lease ups have slowed down considerably.
What I find interesting, Ryan, do you think that self-storage and the base of the reason why that client is or customers coming to rent the self-storage, are you an indicator, do you think at all, that of people downsizing, moving out, moving, is there some sort of plug-in that we can do to, understand a shift? Because you know what I'm saying? Like, first indication is they're going to go put their shit in storage, or something like that.
So our group is we're very bullish on self-storage right now. And I don't even think the tidal wave has hit us yet. I think we're going to see massive customer move-ins. I think we're going to see massive lease up. And I think it's going to come later this year. I think that we're going to have a surge in occupancy because the self-storage asset class is a disruptor asset class. It relies on people getting downsized or displaced. It relies on people moving, losing their homes, having to move to a smaller dwelling. Divorce is a topic that I'm sure a lot of people will be talking about from these these trying times of staying home and just stress on losing jobs and things like that. Jackie's looking at me funny. Everything's fine over here. But no, unfortunately, death, divorce, relocation, job loss, all those things play into the reasons why people use storage. It hits the market obviously differently. But hey, if you lose your apartment, if you lose your house, you still have your belongings, and people have an attachment to their belongings and they're going to be moving it. Or, hey, I lost my job in X market. Now I have to move to another market for employment. That could create customers. So I think that right now things have actually been pretty steady, but I expect the summer and the fall to be wild with storage occupancy because of that reason.
It'll be interesting to get that. I feel like we can get some insight from you a little bit based on what's happening in your world. I was listening to, an interview with Sam Zell, and I was also listening to Ken McElroy. I don't know if you guys follow any of their stuff, but you should.
Yeah, good guy.
Yeah. But Sam Zell was saying that that warehouse might be in abundance, right? Now, so I was wondering if overabundance or oversupply of warehouse might end up affecting self-storage, but we can't do a deep dive on that today because we want to talk about stuff that is going to affect everybody. The real interesting thing is that retail is taking a massive hit, and what's going to happen with retail, and how is the retail strip centers and things like that are going to get hammered, going to repurpose. That's of interest to me, just to see what kind of creative things come out of that asset class there. We'll save that for another day. Anybody have any other questions or problems or anything they want to bring up?
I would say that the only concerns that we have, or the only problems that we've been facing, the challenges of the last 4 weeks, is financing. Now, hard money is still out there. Debt funds are still out there. But for development projects, if it's not a straight down the fairway deal, lending has become very difficult for a reasonable loan. Now, if you want to go pay 412, no problem, you can go pay 412. But if you want something, you want something 3, 4, or 5% construction financing like we've been getting, the local banks are overwhelmed with PPP, or you're 31 in the queue. I'll give you a great example. We have a development project that has a stability in Colorado. We 2 stable self-storage facilities, 2.7 DSCR on the build out stabilized, and we're 31 in line of 89 loans that they have right now. And we'll be lucky to get to the front of the line in 60 days. So, unless if it's just a straight refinance or right down the, fairway deal, really hard to get financing right now for reasonable rates.
Right. Guys, I'm going to shift over because we got about 15 minutes left here with you guys, and we appreciate you so much jumping on with us today. There's been about 30 of us today on here. Let's talk about just, getting back to the Seattle local market and the residential market, or, what's going on here in Seattle. What I'm witnessing from the markets that I'm watching, which is, of course, Seattle, and pretty much is that the market is still very strong at the moment, with multiple offers. And do you guys know who Mike Del Prete is? Does anybody raise your hand if you know who Mike Del Prete is? Super awesome kind of data nerd. I'll be posting some stuff on Seattle Investors Club from him, but he is basically saying the health of the market that he is watching is the number of new listings that are coming on the market, because the number of new listings that are coming on the market are an indication of true intent, right? People can be going to websites, like Zillow and Redfin and doing searches. They can be putting in their application to get pre-qualified for a loan, but all those things may or may not happen. They might not take any action beyond that. And that one of the indicators of intent right now is the number of listings coming on. So you might get a good read on paying real close attention to the week over week, year over year number of new listings that are coming on. Right now, I believe that the Seattle area, King County, Snohomish County, Pierce County, the number of new listings is down year over year, I think 30 to 40%. However, in the last 8 weeks, it's down about 50% in our market here. And so, just paying close attention to that. My fear is the market is super hot right now with multiple offers. I'm putting one on. I'm putting a reasonably priced home on the market here in North Seattle, kind of close to the shoreline border today. And next week I'm putting on, that's priced like at $569. Next week I'm putting one on that's like a badass water view down in Lake Ridge for like $850. And so I'm interested to see what happens there between those two different price points. But my fear is, as you recall back in, June of 2018, when we had that hard skid and the market dropped like that for a bit, my concern and the challenge I think that we have is that once people have a perception that, or things open up and there's going to be more and more listings coming on, it'll be difficult, because I think there's going to be a lot of brokers out there that are going to price their listings low. So if you're got flips coming on, or just in general, you're an agent, you got stuff coming on the market, you're going to have to contend with the total unpredictable, unreliable. You're going to get, my fear is that, you put a listing on the market a little bit conservative, but you're going to have all kinds of agents talking their clients into being uber conservative, or people that are just freaking out and listing low. And that's going to impact, our pricing. It's going to be hard to determine where to list something. That's just my feeling. What do you guys think? This is the democracy. So just looking for you guys. What do you guys think about that? Or you think nothing? Hello, you guys out there? Anybody have a comment on that?
I just think it is what it is. Markets go up, markets go down. There's opportunities in both.
I mean, there's opportunities. I'm just saying in general for something that that I think is going to be challenging for us is when like I said, when we open up, the listing prices are going to be all over for
Yeah,
similar.
it'll be hard to gauge for sure because, there's a lot of, there will be some panic selling, and there will be some people who are like, oh, I need to jump on this because I couldn't buy last year and now, prices are lower. That's provided they can get bank financing. Lack of credit, affects affordability for sure. So, there's a lot of factors at play.
My point is, I think best, I'm talking to my clients, I'd be interested to hear what you guys say, is best to get on the market now. And even if
There's
you
still
have,
comps.
even if you, and while the market is still having multiple offers and the rates are super low, and even if you have partially completed flips, right? I think makes a lot of sense to stick a sign out in your yard and, potentially take an offer early, or, you guys might say, well, that doesn't make any sense because there's multiple offers going on right now. But, as we approach our state opening up more and more, I think, I'd be keeping a close eye on how many listings are coming on the market daily. And you want to get ahead of that. That's just my thought. What do you guys think?
Well, I just saw Erin post something in the chat box that I thought made a lot of sense, which was, if there's fewer houses on the market, then there's going to be more demand, and so that that could drive, that could continue the multiple offers, scenario.
That's what I'm saying is the circumstance we're sitting in right now here today, and so it's to be seen. It's to be seen if, when people feel like they have a window of opportunity here, if there is a flood of listings that come on the market, right? And so the supply goes way up, is what I'm saying. I don't know. I don't know. Just talking out loud here to my friends, about 3 of them.
I think that the part about, there are multiple variables, right? And all those variables are going to continue to propitiate. And I think it's always going to come back down to those agents who are the ones working hard and doing their part, because a good agent is going to pre-qualify them. They're going to know the forbearance issues, so they're going to know if that candidate's even going to be a real candidate, right? So they're going to know, look, this buyer is serious, and they're going to recognize, in a multiple offer situation. So they'll just have to do their job better on that part. But I think the listing agent will have to do just as good a job being creative, because it's not any different than when the market's really good and somebody is so emotionally attached to their house and they think it's worth this, $1 million thing, and it's really a $500,000 house. That agent really has to do some creative things to get that house sold. I think it's going to come back down to that, because I think the number of variables are still going to be there. And I think it's just always going to come back down to those, not just the agents, but us as investors looking at and really knowing, okay, are we pricing this because of where the market is, or are we pricing it because we think we're going to get multiple offers and we're not? And really just being confident in knowing where we should go in at.
Okay, anybody else?
I'll be really curious to see when people start coming off forbearance and understanding that their mortgage payments are going to be severely impacted as they go to repay these forbearances, what kind of inventory that will bring to the market is what I'm really kind of watching for. So we'll see. That's still going to be a 6 to 12 month down the road impact.
Adding to that,
Plus, a lot of people with commercial loans, the loans are usually good for 3, 5, 7, or 10 years. And when those balloons come due and they got to renew those loans and they apply for a forbearance, they may not get the same term and rate they had.
Right.
With the forbearance, Keith, isn't banks are adding the missed payments towards the end side? Towards the end of the cycle of the loan?
It depends on the bank.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends on the bank. So typically what happens, your first recourse is you pay the full forbearance right out the gate. That's an immediate reinstatement of your mortgage. Then the banks can then work it out. FHFA, that does Fannie, Freddie, FHA, and VA, they're allowing people to then either repay over a 6-month or a 12-month repayment plan. So that will then be recast. So if you have somebody that defers for 6 months and then is on a 6-month repayment plan, they're in effect doubling their mortgage payment for 6 months, right? That's huge. So that's what I'm concerned about, is that inventory coming on the market, because homeowners out there already, they're already pushing their debt to income ratios way high. So then to have to ask them to pay a double mortgage payment for 6 months, that to me is going to spur inventory.
Right. There's going to be a lag. I'm going to post the Ken McElroy video, which describes this very well on the kind of the timelines here that he's talking about. Just I'll post it in Seattle Investors Club. Yeah, you know, the whole supply demand thing is going to be interesting here. Anybody else as we're getting ready to wrap up here? Got about 5 minutes left here before we all get back to work.
Well, not to be political here, but I think it all comes down to consumer confidence. And until we actually get everybody back to work and able to open up the businesses and open up everything, we're in a really tough situation here. So I encourage anybody to call the governor and leave a message or text the governor, or there's on his website there's a spot where you can leave comments. I think we need to get back to work.
Hey, Preston, are you still on with us? Are you, did you have somebody's website, like a local politician or something that we should all do something and write a letter to, or who were you talking about earlier?
The lobbyist that I support most is Roger Valdez. His organization is Seattle for Growth, and he's very dialed in with the Seattle City Council, with the mayor. So he's Seattle focused. Another organization
down in the chat that we can grab related to that.
Yes, I will. I'll put it in the chat. More regional coverage for multifamily, RHA, Rental Housing Association. They're another really good organization with a strong political action lobby component. That's very, very good at getting the landlord's message out there.
Awesome stuff. I'm going to wrap it up here. We have, hey, Min, I see you with us, and Tyree is with us. I'm going to tap on you again, Min. Anything changed for you? Min's a wholesaler, and Tyree here is a wholesaler. Anything out of the wholesale news that happened this last week? Have you any type of, I guess I'll say, difference in response rates, or not necessarily response rates, but the types of responses that you're getting in the last week? I like checking in with you guys because you guys are, you know, talking to distressed homeowners on a regular basis. Can you hear me, Min?
Hey, Julie. Yep. Yeah, this past week we actually had a more leads than usual, just people responding. And you know, since last week, after talking to you guys, I was thinking about the lead flow and the people that are calling in. There's actually a lot less tire kickers nowadays. I realized I'm getting the same amount of calls as before, but the people that are calling are more serious and more ready. So I think that's a bonus, actually.
Yeah, I think that's the theme across rentals, across buyers for, you know, retail listings as well, is that there's less tire kickers out there. So you're getting higher quality leads at this time, is what you're saying. And
yeah, it's actually pretty nice. People either just tell me, you know, don't contact them, or if they're thinking about selling, they're very serious. They're ready to go. They want an offer. They're not just getting a number and then waiting for a different time.
We did not know that.
Are they, and Min, are they talking to you about impacts from this coronavirus crisis that is this made their decision to sell? Are they starting just to get behind because they lost their job? Sorry.
No, you know, I actually haven't really had anybody that's selling because of this issue. You know, the topic comes up sometimes, but I haven't had anybody that's under any type of distress because of this coronavirus.
And so it's the same old. What are the reasons they're selling? Just the same old down, you know.
Yeah, just the same stuff. A lot of inherited stuff, probate leads are coming in quite a bit.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
We've been doing, we're not a big wholesaler, obviously, by any means, but we have been, looking for some properties for our own portfolio. And yeah, I'm not necessarily finding people in distressed situations. I totally agree with what Min just said. They're either in or they're out. But the reasons they're in isn't necessarily a distressed situation. We've got one gal who's moving across the country, another guy who he moved 100 miles away because of some family illnesses that he was trying to take care of and thought that he'd be able to manage it, but he says it's just too much, just too far away. So those types of situations where it's not really a distress situation, it's just, just life, but they're just more serious about it than they would have been, a few months back.
I've noticed an uptick in calls, from landlords, and especially older people. They're like, I'm ready to cash out.
Yeah.
So that's happening in my world, but we're going to wrap up here, guys. And appreciate you jumping on with us here. We're going to be doing this every week on Thursdays at 11:30, and whatever you guys want to talk about, just bring it to the table here. We love hearing from everybody. Last call here. Last call for anybody that needs any questions answered or wants to add anything.
Anybody want to buy a piece of land in Issaquah?
Yeah.
Anybody?
Will
already got one. Don't need another one.
Will Preston and no, maybe it's just Preston, put your contact info in the chat box?
Certainly, I'll do that right now.
And,
Julie, great job with this. Well organized, well run. Thank you.
Awesome. And Joe, I think, was going to drop. We have done a full deep dive podcast in the past here with Preston. If you want to get to know him better, I'm going to try and twist Brian's arm to get on with us. Brian Blessing, who is one of my secret buddies that I love talking to so much. If I can do that, coming from different asset classes is wonderful and good information. I was expecting actually, Brian, to say that you were getting hammered more on your stuff. So good to hear. Well, if you want to join us next week, so that'll be after the date of the 15th when some of your collections are due. We'd sure love to check back in with you guys. And Preston, Ryan, come on and join us every week. Everybody join us every week. And other than that, you guys have a fantastic week. And if there's any topics you guys want us to do a deep dive on for podcast or Facebook Lives, for example, like Keith, maybe we should do one on this forbearance topic. Would be
totally.
Cool.
And
yeah.
I also did a Facebook Live this morning with the Master Builders Association's Executive Director, Kat Sims. You guys want to check it out on my Facebook post. It was awesome. There's a lot of good information on the MBA's website about how to run your job sites. Super important right now.
Where can we find that, Keith? Where can we watch that? Where can we watch that?
It's on my personal Facebook page and the Loan Depot Puget Sound Facebook page.
Okay. Keith Pitch, guys. Pitsch. Pitsch. Right on, right on. Okay. Thank you, guys. And we look forward to talking to you next week. Anybody who wants to reach out during the week, feel free to hit me up at julie@seattleinvestorsclub.com, or you can call me or text me 206-910-2985. Again, if you are in the middle of fixing a house, I want to talk to you about some ideas that I have for you. So reach out to me if you want to talk to me about that. Okay. All right, guys.
Thanks, Julie.
Everybody,
Bye, Joe. Bye, Julie.
Bye.
Bye. Ciao, ciao.
Hey, Joe, are you still there?
Everybody.
What's up?
Yeah, I just got a new board. I'm looking forward to having you out to pull you behind it.
Sweet, man. Absolutely.
It's warming up out there. It's time to get on the lake.
Whew. Yeah, man. I can't wait.
Hey, is that a group invite, Preston? Because there's about 10 of us still on here right now.
I'm coming. I'll be
I
there.
wasn't sure if it's snowboarding or wakeboarding. I was all in either way.
Good stuff. Good
Yeah,
stuff. Guys, I'm jumping off. I gotta run out to a house here. So
all right. Sounds good.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, you guys.
Have a good
We'll
week.
we'll talk soon, Preston. All right.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.